the biggest thing that I had to unlearn that I'm still unlearning is having the mentality of being a strong Black woman
Mm,
and feeling like I have to be independent. I have to figure it out on my own. I can't accept help. I can't accept no help from nobody because I'm a strong Black woman. I can figure it out
right.
myself.
Play the song again for no reason. Let me see it.
That is something that I have been having to unlearn, and it's so hard. I'm still trying to unlearn it now. Like it's really hard, and I feel like it stems from growing up. Growing up, I was surrounded. My grandmother raised me. My great grandma, she's still living. She raised her kids. I was surrounded by strong Black women that was just kind of go get it, and seeing them do it, it's just like, okay, so this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, you don't need no help from nobody. You can figure it out yourself. My grandma figured it out herself. She raised her kids, and then when my mom died, she took me and my sisters in and raised us with no help. And then
Wow.
seeing my great grandma raise her kids with no help, it's
Wow.
like
Yeah. Y'all
it kind of just
strong.
it trickled down to me. It trickled down to me. So now
Mm,
it's like me being in this space where I'm at now, where I crave a soft life and I crave um being able to have that soft girl era. It's hard for me to obtain that because I'm still stuck in that mindset of, oh, well, I'm struggling, but I'll figure it out because that's just what I got to do. And being surrounded, and there's nothing wrong, seeing a strong Black person or seeing a strong woman in general, there's nothing wrong with that. But also, in the same breath, it's it's okay to accept help. And I think that's been my biggest issue.
mm. Yeah, that reminds me of the battle with autism, and it's what usually happens is people who go undiagnosed, they're usually they're usually the high functioning ones, and high functioning usually ends up meaning you don't get the help you need because you're high functioning and people won't even believe you if you are autistic. And to move it on, this kind of connected to you, like, a lot of I kind of think of closed mouths don't get fed when I think of strong Black women, just
Mm,
because a lot of them need so much
mhm.
help, or that you might offer some help and they think, you're trying to, you have ulterior motives, which, a lot of guys
Mhm.
do. But, I definitely feel like it can, in this day and age where it's so hard to afford anything, and like you honestly need roommates to have places. It's really an era where like it would benefit most women to go into that soft girl era, and let someone, take care of them if that's what they want to do, or just, have your own. But, it's the toxic, there are ways to be, I think, just normal, and you can do the strong Black woman. But I believe you're more
Yeah.
so hinting at the people who are toxic with it, who are willing to let their baby starve, or they'll rather go steal from the store than ask the baby dad because there's bad blood there when they really need help. I know I mean, that also goes back to pride and a few other things. But for you, what is like, so, obviously we have these behaviors we want to unlearn. What areas of our life do you feel like are most affected by our impulsive behaviors?
Mm. What can we rephrase the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so like kind of in life, like, there are a lot of areas of our life that are affected, directly affected from our, choices and decisions. So whether that's our work life, love life, home life, just what areas do you see, like, even with you, saying being a strong Black woman, what that, obviously doing it in a toxic way, where did that
Oh,
affect you in life?
okay. So for me, I feel like something that has affected me a lot is knowing I have a village and not utilizing my village because I feel like I'm supposed to just figure things out on my own.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of, I guess that could be considered a little toxic is no, because not everybody is fortunate enough to have a village and have people that are willing to help them. I'm
Yeah.
fortunate enough to have people that are willing to help me and I know that they'll help me. But because I'm stuck in this mindset of, oh, I can figure it out myself, I don't utilize that village. And also, I think seeing my grandmother not ask for help when she needed it kind of trickled down to me. So it's like, well, my grandma, she needed help, but she never asked nobody. So I don't need to ask nobody. I'll figure it out, knowing that there's
Right.
people there that will help me. Something that I really struggle with, I'm open to talking about it. I have no problem talking about it. But I left my job um, of 5 years when I was working in childcare. I left that job in January, and for about 2 months, I had no job. So
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling a little bit. I still had to try to make ends meet. And thankfully, I was provided with everything that I needed. But I remember there was this one time. There's this
Mm-hmm.
one time, I want to say it was probably like, it was maybe like 3 months ago. I I ran out of money. I was low on it, and I did not have any more detergent. I
Mm-hmm.
had no more detergent to do my laundry. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. I'm gonna figure it out. I don't need help from nobody. I'll just figure it out. And you mentioned pride. Pride comes into play a lot. And I just remember I ended up talking to my cousin, and I was like, I just really don't even want to ask you because I can figure it out myself. I don't need no help. I don't want no help. But knowing deep down, I needed some help,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
okay to need help. So I ended up having to ask my cousin to buy me some laundry detergent, and I felt so bad about it because I'm just like, for one, I'm grown, and for two, I can figure it
Yeah.
out myself. It'll be okay. But
Yeah.
my cousin had to remind me, like, I can help you. If I'm in a position to help you, I'll help you. And girl, it's just laundry detergent. Like, it's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. But for me, it was just really hard because it's like all my whole life, I saw my grandma just do it on her own with no help. So it's like I can do it. I can figure it out. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a space now where it's like, no, Monica, you need some help. Go find you some help. You have people that are willing to help you. Go ahead and like push your pride and your ego to the side and utilize the people that are around you to help you. But I think that's probably something that affected me a lot. Is just
Yeah.
not utilizing the village that I have, and also not kind of not being grateful that I even
Mm.
have a village. Because like I said,
Yeah.
not a lot of people have that, and it's kind of like I'm just out here almost taking it for granted. Like, okay, whatever, like I can figure it out. Like, no, if you have help, let them help you. It's easier said than done. Please believe me, it's easier said than done. But yeah,
Yeah. I think that goes back with me. My other co-host Rose, who's also my mentor, we talked a lot about just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that goes a long way, especially when we're talking about this. And in the context, we were talking about it as, artists who want to be their own manager, make their own beats, write their own music, book their own shows. And it's like, sure, you could probably figure all that stuff out, but it's way better, to get help, to delegate, and that's why I asked, what areas of life do you feel like, is affected by this stuff? Just because, with entrepreneurship, it's a big thing of if you don't learn how to delegate, if you don't learn how to ask for help, it's hard to be an entrepreneur because you can't do it all alone. When it comes to networking, being able to talk, about yourself, us people pleasers are people who, are like way, way more humble. It's hard for us in entrepreneurship and things like that because you really have to almost brag, you have to be able to go in that room and say, I can do this, this, and this. But I even saw you, even with you, talking about who you are, it's like, yeah, I have my foundation. It's like, yeah, I'm doing this thing,
yeah,
but
it is
it's,
hard. It is hard.
yeah,
Now that you mention that, no, it is hard because I struggle with that now, even with my foundation. Um, I'm planning so many things, and I'm trying to do it all on my own because it's like I don't want to ask for help. And like you said, like I don't want to brag. I don't really want to be in the spotlight, but it's just kind of like
yeah,
this is your foundation. Like this is your craft, like you have to take pride in that a little bit, and you have to learn how to network. Like networking is super hard for me. I struggle with it so much. And even just like getting the word out about my foundation, because it's like I don't want to brag. I don't want to seem like I think I'm doing something super great. I mean, I do believe that my foundation is
yeah,
great and it will be great, but like you said, it's kind of hard, especially as people pleasers. It's like, oh, you
yeah, just
know,
little me,
it's just this,
yeah,
just this little thing. No, girl, this is a big thing. Like
yeah.
I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah, that's hard, and that's when in the next coming weeks we'll be getting into things like that, getting into some ADHD, autism, or the other diagnoses that kind of make us, overly humble. Because usually, if you're in on the spectrum at all your life, you are told you're doing something wrong, so you just naturally try to, appease everybody and wear different masks for everybody, which is one of the biggest things I think for me. Like, one of my biggest unlearned behaviors is masking, just because it ends up
Ooh.
leaving you really messed up. You know, I've always,
Ooh.
man, like it's in school,
Ooh,
like
that's
mom always
good.
thought, and I was always thought to be like this, you know, oh, he's so smart, he's so ambitious. But, you know, I was just doing what I thought was normal. And then once I got to high school, I realized, oh, life is really different, you know. And
Ooh,
I remember
that's
everybody
good.
that I hung out with, I had a different personality for that person, you know, because I'm like, I wanted to
Mm,
show up in a way that you will accept me in you. So it made me lose myself. I ended up forgetting who I even
yeah.
was. I was super materialistic in high school. Only all my checks went to shoes, you know, and that's all I really cared about. But you know, once I stopped masking, I realized, dude, like I don't care what people think. Like I was dressing in outfits when I would go out to buy clothes. I'm like, which one will my classmates like more? Which ones will my people I want to be friends like more? And not even worrying about myself. So masking is huge. It also makes, I mean, if you learn masking as a child, it makes you, you know, you appear that you get that high functioning label, which basically means you won't ever get the help you need because people think you're fine, right? When you're dying inside, or, you know, no. But for you, what do you think are the most common, like, you know, worldwide? What are the most common behaviors that people you think need to unlearn in 2024?
Well, I mean, you just mentioned a major one that didn't even cross my mind, and we were literally just talking about it the other day, masking. Like
Yeah.
we were literally just talking about masking the other day. I feel like that is a major one that we need to unlearn in this generation is masking. Um, Another one that I think that we need to start to unlearn is mm, I gotta see how to word it. Well, really, I think the main one would be masking because I feel like a lot of people do mask themselves or like they put on this fake face.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like a main one. I feel like that is a main one. Even something that's even something that I struggle with, but I'm still trying to unlearn.
Yeah. I mean, I know another big one is just avoiding emotions, running from ourselves. I feel like,
Mm,
um, actually, the biggest one, you know, I try to keep it. I always try to relate it to entrepreneurship, but honestly, this is more related to our other podcast, the Heartbreak Chronicles. When people get out of relationships, they automatically just only point fingers at their spouse, even when their spouse did something really
mm,
bad. You know, even if someone did cheat on you, it doesn't. I'm not to say anyone deserves to be cheated on or anything like that, but there is something to be said about reassessing, reevaluating yourself after leaving a relationship
mm.
that didn't end well.
Ooh,
And a lot of people aren't even self-aware enough to see their error. They can only see what their partner does wrong.
another thing, since you just said this and it just made me think about it. Another thing that I think we need to unlearn is not taking accountability for our actions
Yeah, definitely.
and thinking that, you know, we did nothing wrong in a situation. I feel like that's another major one that we need to unlearn. And we need to learn how to take accountability. You know, a lot of people don't
Yeah,
want to do that. Like it's hard for a lot of people to be like, oh, you know what, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
yeah.
We need to unlearn that whole, you know, no, I'm not apologizing. No, if you're wrong, you're wrong, and you need to notice that.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
just
because you
that
can't grow.
simple.
You can't
Yeah,
grow
no, you
if
can
you
go.
are blaming other people, if you're justifying. Because every bad thing I've ever done, I've always had to justify it in my head before I did it. You know, because a lot of times when we think we're good people, you know, we try to find a way that a perspective that works in our favor. But usually when we're doing
Mm,
all that, we probably shouldn't be doing that thing. I think another one is negative self-talk. That's something I've been kind of
yeah,
struggling with.
yeah,
I mean, I've read a lot of books on it, you know, how to control. Well, I'm reading a couple books about how to control your emotions and things like that. But that's honestly the biggest one beside masking for me. Just I've never been really good with my emotions, never really been good at like I was good until like a lot of backlash came from me just being honest, and I've started realizing people hate
mm,
honesty. So I'm like, I'll just shut up.
yeah,
That's the only language I speak.
yeah,
But negative self talk is huge because I tell myself so many negative things all day, like, oh, that person
yes.
probably hates you now. You looked at them the
Power
wrong
of the
way.
tongue. Power of the
Yeah,
tongue. I
yeah,
tell people that all the time. Power of the tongue. Your words hold weight, and that's something that people need to. That I feel like our generation needs to learn, or just in 2024 in general, is that our words hold weight. Like
yeah,
whatever you speak over yourself, you're speaking that into existence. Like
Mm.
the power of life and death is in the tongue, and that is to be taken completely serious. Like
Yeah.
just how it is written, the power of life and death is in the tongue. What you say will manifest. What you say will come true. If you're saying, "Oh, I'm never gonna have this," keep speaking that, and you're never gonna have it. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Mm.
like, yes, that's a big one.
And kind of moving on to just like steps, because I know a lot of podcasts tell everybody you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this, but never show them how. So like when it comes to the unlearning behaviors, I had scribbled down just a few steps, and like the first is to acknowledge the behavior, figure out,
Mm-hmm.
like, agree that you have it for one. And I think one of the biggest reasons why it's important to at least meet your parents. So sometimes it might not be beneficial, maybe a parent, sometimes there is some separation that needs to be needed, but a big reason why it's super in like just important, integral to meet your parents is because you have to understand the origin of some of your behaviors and rule them out. If you can rule them out and it's not your parents, and it's something that probably be a little easier for you to get through because it's not in your genes, you just have this behavior. But if you can connect the dots from one of your behaviors to your parent, you have to learn how to cope with that, because some of those things,
Yeah.
like having your anger, some of those things, like if it's in your genes, it's all you can do is really medicate it, unless you just picked up
Mm-hmm.
the bad habit. But I think understanding the origin is huge. Just for, I mean, there's so many things we do just because we saw our parents do them, and once you know that, then you know what you're up against. I like to tell people, getting an ADHD, autism, depression, getting those diagnoses aren't, I don't know if that's where diagnosis or diagnose, I don't know how you say it,
Mm-hmm.
but getting those diagnoses, the goal is so that you can now get tools to fight against it, not to just say, oh, this is my excuse to treat all my friends like crap, never remember any birthdays.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm learning this, so now I will buy sticky notes. Now I'll get the different apps that help me. But after you understand its origin, now you really have to develop some new healthy behaviors. For you, what are some new healthy behaviors you're working on this year?
Some new healthy behaviors that I'm working on is how you said tracking things back to the origin. A lot of times, and I feel like I said this in our other podcast, get into the root of the problem.
Mm.
Or maybe I was talking to you about it, but get into the root of it, finding, okay, well, why am I this way? So a lot of shadow work, just
Mm.
diving in to myself and just trying to figure out, okay, where does this stem from, so that I can know how to navigate through it and know how to correct it, or how to learn how to deal with it in the proper way, instead of, like you said, just using it as an excuse. Well, oh, I'm this way because my daddy was this way, or I'm this way because my grandma was this way. Get into the
Right.
root of it. Okay, I'm this way because this is how I saw that situation handled, but let me learn how to handle it in a different way where it's not impacting me negatively, or impacting
Yeah.
others negatively, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I know, like, we want our energy to be good. I hate even being around people when I know my energy is, it's bad, and a lot of times it can
Yeah.
be contagious. Because I can't sit next to anyone who's sad and not be sad too, or just have someone I
Yeah.
care about be sad and then it doesn't get to me. So, it definitely is, your
Energy is
environment is
real.
important. Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
then I think just, final one is just practicing patience, and
Ooh.
self-compassion, because a lot of
Mm,
times we are our worst critics.
mm-hmm.
We are so hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But patience is big for me. It's a big reason why I can cook, but I can't cook because I don't have the patience to do it. Like, I just always turn the eye on
Yes.
high, and I just want to get it to be done. Then all of my pans are burnt because I don't have the patience. So
Yeah.
definitely good to practice patience.
Yes, I journal a lot, and something that I write in my journals to myself all the time. Because when I write as if I'm writing to myself. So I always write in my journal, like, be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself. And I talk about that a lot with my foundation, is remembering to be gentle with ourselves. Because I know a lot of times we may feel like we're supposed to be a certain way, and we won't give ourselves grace. The same grace like for me, the same grace that I give to others, I have to learn how to give to myself and extend to myself, because I deserve that same grace as well. Because I think a lot of times, like you said, we are our biggest
Mm,
critics, and we can be hard on ourselves. But it's like, no, you're doing the best that you can. You have to learn to be patient with yourself. You have to learn to give yourself grace, because you
Yeah.
deserve that patience and you deserve that grace. It's easier said than done though.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like for people pleasers is us giving ourselves grace, being able to speak about, and like you said, speaking about what you do confidently. Yeah, I mean, I just know in the entrepreneur field it's really hard, because most entrepreneurs are super hard on themselves. A lot of entrepreneurs fall on the spectrum, and one big thing is just that being hard on yourself that we all share, and it's hard.
Yeah.
For you, like, even with nonprofits, I mean, it's still entrepreneurship. Like, what do you feel like is the biggest hurdle that you face, being being an entrepreneur, being someone with a nonprofit, and also, having this grief journey you're navigating?
I think my biggest hurdle right now, I was actually just talking to my auntie about it a couple weeks ago, is putting myself out there. You know,
Mm,
I can't expect for people to know about FOAF if I'm not promoting it or if I'm not putting it out there. But
right.
because I'm not used to just putting myself out there and I'm used to being in the background, it's been really hard. And also, just, you know, kind of having a lack of faith a little bit and feeling like, oh, well, what if nobody wants to support me? Or what if nobody, you know, understands how important this foundation is to me, or like how it's bigger than me. This is
Yeah.
so much bigger than me, you know? So I think that my biggest struggle would be really putting myself out there with my foundation, and also knowing that it's okay to speak about my foundation. It's okay to let it be known what this is and what the purpose is and what the goal is, because it's something that's needed. Because I always think like, God wouldn't have gave this to me if it wasn't needed. So
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest thing that I've been struggling with, is putting myself out there. And like, because it kind of feel like, you jumping off of the ledge a little bit. Like you jumping
Yeah.
into the water and you don't know how deep the water is. And it's like, I can swim a little bit, but I can't swim for real. And it's like,
Yeah.
you just
I
kind of
feel
got to trust the process a little. Like that's been really
yeah.
hard.
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to I think I watched a Bible story, like a short of it, and it was, I believe, Job. If I'm not mistaken, but no, there was one where I forgot his name, but Jesus had said, he like, come to me, walk on water, and the guy started walking on water, but then some wind came and it like completely just made him lose faith, so he fell, and
Yeah.
that's kind of like how this is. It's like, okay, he put this in me, he wants me to have he wants me to have a business, he wants me to impact people, and I was like, oh, like how can I? Because it's like if I knew for sure this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm fine with talking to people. But sometimes I'm like, I'm scared that I'm on the wrong path. So, but it can be hard putting yourself out there because there's so many
Yeah.
things weighing on you. Um,
And another thing that is hard is not letting other people's opinions or thoughts on my foundation matter, because a lot of times people ask me like, well, what are you gonna do next? What's coming next with your foundation? Where are you at? What's your plans? This, that, and the third. And it's hard to explain to somebody that, I don't know what's next. I don't know. When I say like this is just something that God gave me and I literally just move when he tell me to, I don't have no set plan or no set, you know, way to go with the foundation. It's like whatever God gives me is what he gives me. If he doesn't give it to me, I'm not gonna do it. And also learning how to say no to people that give me ideas, because it's good to hear other ideas and other thoughts, but if it's not settling in my spirit, then it's okay to say no. Because I feel like you said,
yeah,
as a people pleaser, it's like, oh well, yeah, I guess I should do it because so and so said do it. And it's just
yeah,
like, but did God say do it? At least that's how I think to
mm,
everything. Like, did God tell you to do it?
yeah.
Okay then. So
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And one of our one of my co-hosts for different podcasts, she said we follow God's word with everything, but like specific things. We were talking about relationships at the time. We follow
mhm,
God's advice with everything, but our relationships. God might show us a billion times that someone either is or isn't the one, and we can just go on off our own. Same with like business. I've read in the Bible now, and I feel like there's even scriptures that help with entrepreneurs, but you really have to have faith if it's something like this, because
yeah.
you're putting yourself out there. I mean, it's huge though. It's huge, and like I definitely want you to every episode we're gonna be checking in, and we're gonna be trying to ask what you're doing, because we definitely want you to
Mhm.
we want you to take this as far as you can, obviously,
Yeah,
in alliance with
definitely.
your spirit. But yeah, I mean, what are just some bigger, some other unlearned behaviors that you think over the years you've had to shed?
Let me think. Ooh, another one that I've had to unlearn is brainwashing. Can that be considered a behavior that you have to unlearn?
Like you're brainwashed or you're brainwashing other people?
Like me being brainwashed.
Oh,
Because I feel like, in a sense, somebody's telling, like how I be saying, power of the tongue. If somebody is saying certain things about you or making you feel certain ways about yourself, it's like now that's something that I have to unlearn. Because for years, like for example, for years, everybody has always told me, "Oh, you're just over emotional. You're just too sensitive. You just
uh,
all of this." And for such a long time, I struggled with that. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm just too sensitive. I'm just too over emotional. Like, yeah, it's just that's what it is. But now that I'm growing and learning in life, it's like I have to unlearn that. Like, no, you're not oversensitive. You're not too emotional. Like, your feelings are valid. And it's like going from not feeling validated to now realizing that everything that I feel is valid. It's
mm,
hard to unlearn that, because for years everybody just always tell me, "Oh, she's just too sensitive. Oh, she's just over emotional," and it's like it kind of made me reflect on that in a negative way, like like it was bad or something, and it's not.
yeah. Yeah, you hear
If
that a
that makes
lot,
sense.
No, I definitely get it. I mean, that reminds me of, just the guy who was telling me that, hey, everybody dies, dude. Like, what's wrong with you? Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
definitely a
wild.
struggle. Yeah, I did the same thing. I said, okay, how do I learn from this? What do I take from this? And I'm like, I mean, I need to go be an entrepreneur. I need to go, not, I mean, I already was, but that's when I quit, every job I think the last job I tried out before I went full time was like valet or something. It was just terrible. Like people throw keys at you. It was terrible. But I went full time for the first time then. Haven't really looked back, but I really wanted to prove like you can, have something great, make some good money, and also be a good person. Like I don't know why everyone thinks you have to turn into this terrible person to be successful. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for you, any other thoughts, concerns, anything else of
Yes.
surrounding learned behaviors?
Yes, another thing that I was just sitting here thinking about, and now I feel like it just left my mind. Oh, nope, I got it. Um, Unlearning that my past does not dictate my future,
Mm,
because I think a lot of times, at least for me, I always felt like, oh, well, I went through all of these things, and I feel so broken. How can I possibly get to this next place, or possibly have a good future? And I think I've had to unlearn that, your past is your past, and that does
yeah.
not dictate what happens in the future, because broken crayons still color. So it's like
Oof.
your past does not dictate your future. If anything, your past is going to help you figure out how to move into your future. And God takes beauty for ashes, and broken pieces can still be put back together.
Mm,
And like
man.
nobody's too broken.
Man, I be thinking maybe sometimes I'll be like, am I too broken? I be thinking that. I mean, they say you're
No.
supposed to heal before you get, put yourself out there. But, there is this life, social media, everything. I had to get out of social media, before just because it can make you feel like you're behind and like you're broken and
Yes.
something's wrong with you.
Yes. Ooh, I'm sorry. Another one is something that I've been struggling with is just unlearning that you're supposed to have it all together. Like, I think a lot
Yeah,
of times people expect you to have it all together, have your life figured out, like know what you want in the next 10 years, know what you know, this, know that. Yes, you should know a few of those things, but I think for me, I'm 23 years old, and I feel sometimes, like how you were talking about social media, sometimes being on social media and seeing people achieving all of these things and all of these goals, and like they're the same age as me, it makes me feel like, oh my God, I'm behind. Like I need to get it together. And it's just
yeah,
like, no, we're all living this life for the first time. We're all learning for the first time. Nobody has it together, no matter how much people post, no matter how good
yeah,
they try to make it look. nobody has it all together. We're all human. We all fall short. We all mess up. We all go through hard times. And I think that's something that we need to unlearn, is having that mentality of having it all together. And that's just, not everybody has it all together. And that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. That's dangerous territory when people start saying that it's all everything. Oh, just need
Oh,
to
I
put my
can't hear you.
laptop on the. Oh, you
I
can't hear
can't
me?
hear you.
Not at all. I saw you
I don't
take the
know why.
headphone out. I'm gonna make sure it's not me. Um, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, it
Okay.
just okay. I see what it did. Select the microphone. Boom. Speaker. There we go. And okay, you can still hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, you're back in my ears. Cool. Yeah, I think the whole like this on social media, I mean, there's 19-year-olds, and now me watching the NBA and seeing that there's guys coming in the league right now, like 19, 20, 21, 22. I'm like, you guys are all millionaires. Like, this is crazy. But yeah, there's no, I found that we're all on divine time, and there's no, right way to do. I mean, there's probably a right way to do life, but it's for us, like we're imperfect
I
people.
agree
So
with that.
you what?
I don't think I agree with that.
Oh,
The
with
whole
which
concept
one?
of there's probably a right or wrong way to do life. I don't agree with that. I don't think that
Yeah,
there's a right or wrong way.
probably not.
I personally don't.
It's like I don't know if I think there's the right way, but I feel like if like God just came down and said, "Hey, this is," he probably would have a perfect blueprint for us to use. But I mean, the whole point is we're not perfect. But yeah, I guess there probably is no right or wrong way. I just always think I'm doing it the wrong way because I'm like my outcomes feel like it's the wrong way. Okay, I keep thinking my stuff is dying, but no, we good. But okay, so I mean, I think unlearned behaviors, like you said, the biggest one was that you don't have to have it all together because I feel like that causes a lot of depression. Can be we don't want to do any victim blaming, but I feel like there's so much with depression and things like that that are self inflicted because of the negative self talk, being surrounded by the wrong people, having the wrong environment around you. um and yeah, I mean, just looking at social media, looking at people and seeing, because a lot of times we're seeing someone who's actually faking like they have it all together, and you just whole time
Yeah,
they have you depressed. So it is
yeah,
good to kind of step out and to go against that. But for
yeah.
you, I mean, any bigger takeaways? I mean, we already got. I mean, like I said, you're a natural. We already didn't got some pretty good time in. What is your I guess when it comes to unlearning behaviors? I mentioned like a four little step process on how to do it, the acknowledgement, knowing the origin, develop new healthier behaviors, and then practice that patience and compassion once you do get there. Any
Yeah.
other tips for the audience that you want to leave them with on unlearning behaviors?
I feel like mine kind of goes along the same line as yours, acknowledging it and then getting to the root of the problem, even and a lot of self-reflection, because I think a lot of times we can, like you said, we can just blame the way that we act on what we saw growing up. And I feel
Right,
like that's the time to sit and really self-reflect and see, okay, yeah, this is what I saw, but let me reflect and see how can I do this differently, because I'm not them and I don't have to
right,
react the same way as them. And I think in my mind, I think I have to react the same way as them because that's what I saw, but that's not the case. And that's where self-reflection comes in, and where a little bit of shadow work comes in, and just really figuring out why do I why do I feel like I need to act this way? And once you find that point, take it and see, okay, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to see how can I um take it and work with it in a different way so that I can respond differently. Because in a way, it's like we trying to break generational curses. So just
yeah,
because my daddy responded to that situation that way doesn't mean that it's going to trickle down to me and I'm going to respond that way, because we don't want to keep repeating the same cycle. And also, like you said, being gentle with ourselves and having grace with ourselves and being compassionate with ourselves.
Yeah, big. And yeah, I guess I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me, so I mean, this conversation is the whole, the having it all together. I think I'll keep going back to that one just because I think that's why so many people, like when COVID hit, a lot of new cases of depression, so many different things, because everybody was on social media, and like we just seen all these people with these courses, all these people having this money. And I kind of took a lot of people out of character. I saw people that I never thought would start trying to scam to get money and all these different things. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think it'll save you a world of trouble if you, for one, stop basing what you want off of someone else, and two,
Yeah.
look in the mirror and try to get better than you were yesterday.
Right.
Three, I think that my biggest advice to anyone who's, going through things in life and also, want to be an entrepreneur, just anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, period, you have to have that mentality of blaming everything on yourself so you do have control of what happens next. Because like I mentioned, some people, they blame where they are in life based on who's president right now, or and I'm like, well, that means you're gonna have 4 years where you can't do anything because he's going to be, unless you want to assassinate him, he's going to be the president. So I feel like a lot of people blame others and blame situations. And I was a huge person with doing this, saying, well, how could I ever get better? Because my dad did this, or how could I do this? My mom was a single mom. It's like, instead of that, the way to break the generational curse is to figure out what they couldn't figure out. If your parents
Right.
never figured it out, it's on you to go and make sure, you're different, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, finding you and realizing that you're not your dad or you're not your mom, you're not your grandma, and really just being the most authentic version of yourself and learning what is that authentic version of myself, finding that. And once you find that, then that's going to help you be able to respond to things differently and really
Yeah.
work through those things and break that cycle. I feel like that's
Yeah.
another thing. That's something that I would say to everybody. Be you. Don't be what your dad was, or don't be what your whoever you saw growing up. Don't be that person. Don't feel obligated to be that person because that's all that you've seen. No, you are you. And once you find who you are, that's going to help you be able to respond to things differently and
Yeah.
respond to the things that, like, for example, like, I have to find who I am and find how will Monica respond to this. I don't want to respond as anybody else because I'm not
Right.
them and they're not, you know. So
Yeah.
that's probably something that I would say to somebody, find who you are and be you so that you can respond as yourself, as your most authentic version of yourself, and not respond the way that everybody else in the world would, or respond the way that you saw somebody else respond, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. I feel like a lot of people base their response based on, if it's in a group setting or they don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Like, this, especially entrepreneurship, going down that road, or even just mental health in general, because both of those lives as an entrepreneur or just someone who's dealing with mental health, you have a lot of extra baggage that comes along with it. So you have to really um, say things that will attract the people that are supposed to be around. Anything that you're going to say and it's your truth, and you're scared it might make someone, leave you, or not stick around, it's probably something that you need to be saying because you want them to, you don't want them in your life. But I think a big thing is, yeah, like, positive self-talk, as well,
Yeah.
just putting yourself in a better headspace there. I think I kind of got to all of my unlearned. I think I had another unlearned behavior. I think the other one was just at first when I got, ADHD, when I got that diagnosis, I was using it as an excuse and just kept, oh, I didn't do this, so that's why. So I think another one was, yeah, try to take ownership, hold yourself accountable. I think that's big for anyone. But yeah, I mean, we're just, I can't wait to see, what else we do, just because I can already see you're natural with just being able to talk on camera about things you know about, which is amazing. So now moving on to these next episodes, I can't wait to see who you're bringing on. Because again, if anyone is just tuning in, Monica, it will be our new co-host for the Hyperactive Hustler, indefinitely until, she decides she hates it or she wants to like take over all the way. But what's something? I mean, we're this is our second episode together. What's something you think our listeners need to know about you, like to really fully understand you? What do you think is like a couple of sentences that would just kind of encapsulate who you are for them?
I think something for people to know about me is that I am very genuine and I am also very transparent, and I believe in keeping it real, and also, you know, having tough conversations, or, kind of, agreeing and disagreeing. Like, I'm really big on keeping it real and being honest and being my authentic self. So it's like, I'm never going to try to get on here and act a certain way because I saw somebody else act a certain way, or, I'm going to do this because I think this is what will fit the moment. No.
Yeah.
I'm really big on, being my authentic self. And it's hard. It is, but it's important because I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be Monica.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think that's something to know. I believe in love, just spreading love and being there for everybody. So yeah.
Yeah, that's Monica. I definitely I'm excited just, your view on grief, your views and the advice you're able to give, I think it'd be helpful for a lot of people. Definitely will I mean, I know you want to build a community. We can definitely work on building a community for people, all over, like, who need, help from one of us. Cause it's like, I'm empathetic, and I can empathize with entrepreneurs no matter what they're going through. And then you can empathize with anyone who is, dealing with that loss of a loved one. So I think we'll make a great team. I think you'll make a great host even by yourself when I'm not, on episodes. So I'm excited. Any last thoughts to leave them with before we sign off?
Be you. Like,
Mm.
that's all I can say. Be you. Love yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Speak positive, like you said, speak positivity over yourself. And always remember that you're in control of your mind, your body, and your emotions. I'm low-key kind of living by that now. Like, I am in control of my mind, my body, and my emotions.
Play the song again for no reason. Let me see it.